to be that close and know we didn't play our best in the first half. We just talked about flipping the script and playing a really good second half, a really clean second half. And so we did that. Guys, obviously JT, JB got it going. Both those guys almost triple-double and 25 points for JB. But it was simply, like I said, taking care of the basketball, the emphasis of this whole series, and limit them to one shot. And so we're guarding extremely well. It's impressive to hold a team to 80, not playing your best offensive game. But as I always say, we rely on the defensive end. Know our offense will pick up eventually, and when we get those stops and get out and run, we're kind of a lethal team on both ends.
While we try to get Al's audio situated, I'm fortunate to be able to dish the rock to Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A., let me first establish, can you hear me, my friend?
I can hear you loud and clear, Scott.
Perfect. And let's dive into this. We've got an incredibly capable defensive team in Boston, and we have an awfully banged up and seemingly exhausted Miami team. In your estimation, what did we see more of in this game in terms of why the Heat were only able to get 80 on the board?
One of the most terrific offensive performances you've seen. That's really what this comes down to. The Boston Celtics are an elite defensive team. We get all of that. But I will remind you that Max Strus, somebody that we've been raving about for the most part in the regular season because of his sharpshooting ability, this is a guy that went 0 for 9 today. Yep. He's 0 for 16 in the last 2 games. I actually had to look up his resume because I had to remember that he came from DePaul because he looked like he belongs back in college, that he ain't ready for this level because that's how bad he was. You look at Kyle Lowry, yeah, he was 0 for 6, but we all know he's hobbled. We all know he's lucky to see him out here because he's got a bad hamstring injury. But with Tyler Hero out due to his hamstring injury, he had to try and give you all that he could, but he just didn't have it. Oladipo, an offensive weapon throughout this series. He shoots 1 for 7 from the field tonight. Jimmy Butler, clearly hobbled by his knee injury, had no lift whatsoever, went out there and tried to give you his all, but shot 4 of 18 from the field. I don't care who you are. I don't care how great or putrid your defense is. If you can't make shots, anybody can beat you. And that was the Miami Heat tonight. They resembled a bunch of construction workers looking like they throwing bricks all over the damn place. And that is why the Miami Heat are going to Boston, getting set to be eliminated from the Eastern Conference Finals this Friday night. My reservations are already made. I ain't coming back to Miami.
That's a shame. But listen, Stephen, I'm smiling because I think back to you and I several years ago. Anytime we start going with that's a wrap, you got to be careful. But given the situation that the Heat find themselves in, I mean, that's a proud team. It's a well-coached team. There's a pedigree there, yes. But at some point, I don't know that they have enough that how do you cobble together 48 minutes to get a victory on the road against a Boston team that, like you, they don't want to go back to Miami either. I just wonder how it could happen.
Well, let's understand a couple of things here and throwing ourselves on the sword. When we got called out, we both thought that Milwaukee or Toronto was done in that Eastern Conference semifinal series against Milwaukee because Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks jumped up 2-0 and Kawhi Leonard and those boys at Toronto were healthy. They just lost the first 2 games.
Understood.
In this case, we're not talking about a Miami Heat team that can't play. We're talking about a team that's depleted with injuries. They've been eviscerated by it. Kyle Lowry's injured. Jimmy Butler's injured. You look at these guys, they just don't have much. Tyler Hero, the reigning 6th man of the year, is injured. Gabe Vincent is one of your better players, along with Bam Adebayo in this game. It's just the way it is.
Understood. All right, Al can hear us, and that alarm's going to go off early for First Take, so I appreciate you, Stephen A. As always, look forward to visiting throughout the playoffs and the finals, okay?
All right, no problem, my man.
Indeed, that's Stephen A. Smith, and now we spin over and welcome out 3 little things on this Celtics victory. They went over 20 points each in Game 5. Neither was very good in the first half, as we mentioned, but collectively it was a second-half push as they take over and win Game 5. It's a 3-2 lead in the East Finals, that 24-2 run Lisa Salters was just talking about. Miami down 1, and then suddenly they were down 23. Seemingly in the blink of an eye. Miami, just a miserable night from the floor. They shoot 7 of 45 on threes. Miami missed a franchise playoff record, 38 threes. The best three-point shooting team during the regular season, but that has evaporated, and now They need 48 great minutes in Boston to earn a Game 7. Tim Legler in studio with us. And I said to Steve a moment ago, it wasn't a work of art.
That's an understatement.
But nevertheless, it's your job to pretty this thing up for us. And it was sloppy, as we mentioned, and it's a third quarter that we've just kind of illustrated, but you can help elevate our understanding. What went on?
It was a tough watch. I thought offensively both teams.
Playoffs have been lately, man.
And I thought there were some guys looked tired tonight. Some guys didn't look healthy tonight. And then there was just some really bad misses. And you're just waiting around to see who's going to get hot at some point. Jaylen Brown hit it on the head. He said, we just got it going offensively. The young legs and the star talent took over, and it was during this key stretch, and I just thought there was some really beautiful basketball played here. And here's where it starts. Jason Tatum's going to drive in and kick, and he's going to do a little Steph Curry here. I call this the pass and chase. He perfected it, right? You pass, and then you continue on to chase the basketball, and he's going to end up in this corner. Now, Strus is guarding him, and I'm sure Strus would love to just go ahead and chase him if he can on this pass. The problem is, as soon as Al Horford catches it, this is such a great play because he immediately puts it back down and takes it to the middle, which means that now Strus is in this weird position. I'm chasing Tatum, but I also have to provide help on the penetration. So he decides to stay. Unfortunately, teammate doesn't realize it. So he's also going to end up in here, which means Tatum now gets this return pass back in the corner because Horford takes it right back to the gut, takes three guys there, kick out, and this is where they were starting to pull away and find their rhythm. And I love this one. You want to talk about a big boy screen in the NBA playoffs, this is what it looks like. Take a look at Grant Williams, where he starts. I want you to look at his top foot. He is down here. He's below that hash right there. And you see Jimmy Butler. He's eyeing this up. He figures, hey, listen, Jason Tatum is a long way from the basketball right here. This is going to be a very long pass. It's going to be in a rope to get it to the corner. So he's going to decide to go over the top of this screen and try to chase out here. Watch Grant Williams move on this pick. By the time he finishes up, his body is up one more hash up the lane, making contact with Jimmy Butler.
Legal there, though? Like for the Heat fan screaming, that's a legal moving screen?
Not necessarily so, Scott. That's kind of a moving screen right there, but it's playoff screen.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
why I said that's a big boy wide screen in
Understood.
the playoffs. You're not going to get that call. Jimmy Butler thought he could cheat it, and instead that's a rope pass to the corner. So again, the talent taking over for the Celtics. Jason Tatum's playmaking was big throughout the game, but it was this key stretch when their two best players found a rhythm. Really the only two guys all night that did. And there were no X-factor components for the Heat. Like, where are you going to get it if Butler is not going to play well? Hero's sitting on the bench. Nobody else really capable of going and getting you, 10, 12, 14-point quarter to help out. Tatum and Brown took over the game, and I think at some point they just sensed it. Hey, guys, you want to go home and end it on Friday? Well, let's do it right now because we can squeeze the life out of this team, and they did it during that stretch.
And yet, and you and I are having this conversation off air, particularly this round of the playoffs, frankly, has just not been great. We haven't had a whole lot of competitive games where you get down to winning time and it's really up in the air. Having said that, to your point, you're Boston, you have a great second half, and you put yourself in a position where you can end it at home.
Yeah.
Is there any reason to believe, given what looks like a pretty banged up and exhausted Heat team now heading on the road, is there any reason to believe that Boston does not close this out and make its 22nd finals?
For me right now, there is no logical argument you could make for why Miami would win that game on Friday night. And this is weird for me. I don't think I'm doing this a long time. I don't think I've ever gotten to a point this deep into the playoffs where I literally have absolutely no idea what I'm about to watch. That's how I feel throughout the last two rounds of the postseason. But right now, I feel pretty sure that Boston is going to go home and take care of business on Friday.
This is something Stephen A. Smith's going to join us in a bit. Now, I'm curious where he lands on this. I'm going to give you the first crack at it. Every other night, right? And I know Mark Cuban has some comments about it. I mean, the play-in didn't go that long, but I mean, it does feel to me that these teams that are pretty exhausted would benefit from another night off. I mean, we're seeing it in the NHL as well. I mean, every other night is great for us with TV. We get a rhythm. We got it, you got it, TNT, whatever. We're watching these games. But do you feel like maybe a night in between somewhere here to just catch your breath would benefit these teams?
Yeah, we're certainly going to get it in the finals, so it's going to help, particularly coming out of this series here in the Eastern Conference. Golden State just has more weapons and more answers than any of these other three teams that are still alive. But it's going to benefit these two teams greatly when they start getting, whoever gets there, when you start getting multiple nights off, there's no doubt, because it's not just guys being tired. It's also, there are a lot of guys, it seems like, that have lingering injuries. They're just not healthy, and that puts more pressure on the healthy star. for example, a Jimmy Butler. Like, you're going to need to go get 35 or 40 tonight, and he looked absolutely dead tired. He shot back-to-back air balls in the third quarter on wide-open looks. I think that says a lot about a guy that good looking like that in the moment.
And that fit. I mean, Butler's a guy who's, like, he's built for it, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think I'm with you. It just speaks to that, and Boston's defense is suffocating in Miami, you know. They're going to go win now because
wears you down, man.
Yeah, but they're going to go win in Boston now because
You might be right.
It's just the
Who
goofiest
knows?
postseason we've seen in a while. As always, Tim, appreciate your time.
All right, Scott.
Thank you so much. Boston, as we mentioned, a win away from a trip to the finals. Haven't been since 2010, lost in 7 to the Lakers. As for Miami, they head into Game 6, hoping to overcome a 3-2 deficit for the first time since